these two a pretty high standard. Because trust me, I know about most of these rivalries. C, D. I don't think I'm gonna put any in the F tier, but let's see. Okay, that one's going in the F tier. Nobody cares about this one. Kansas, Missouri. I don't know. I'm not from Kansas or Missouri, but I know that that used to be a lot bigger than it is now. So you don't. They're not in the same conference anymore, so they don't really play each other. Michigan, Michigan State. This one's almost S tier, but Michigan, Ohio State's much bigger. Alabama, LSU is the same way. I mean, these teams don't really. I think Tennessee, Alabama is probably a bigger rivalry than Alabama, LSU. Same with these two teams. It's just LSU is so much better for so long that it's not very competitive. Georgia, Auburn, that's another huge rivalry. I can basically remember every single Georgia Auburn game since I've been alive, and there's plenty of them that I don't want to remember. Trust me. Arizona and Arizona State, it's just those teams aren't really that good. UNC Virginia is the same way. Stanford Cal. This one's like used to be better, but nah, it's not really entertaining anymore. Georgia Tech. I'm a Georgia fan. I get invested into this rivalry. I gotta put it like at least above these. But at the same time, we just pound them by 50 every year, so it's not like much of a rivalry anymore. Miami. This used to be a much bigger rivalry than it is now, which is kind of sad. But Oregon State, I'd say it's probably the same way as Georgia Tech. It's that the two teams don't like each other. It's just one is so much better. And USC UCLA, I'd say is probably same tier. It was like not competitive at all for a while, but I gotta say, this year watching Washington State storm the field at Washington was pretty funny. So Army Navy, this is just one of the biggest rivalries in sports across the whole world. I mean, I can't not put it there. Oklahoma State. This one is one of my favorite rivalries to watch because every year the two teams put up 55 points on each other, and it's just like sucks that one of them has to lose. And I swear that neither team like does any defensive drills the whole week. I swear it's just like they get out to practice. What are we doing? Offensive individuals go, defense just sit on the sideline. Like we don't care about y'all. I swear that's how these two teams prepare for that game. Pitt, West Virginia. I had no idea that was a rivalry. Virginia Tech. This is probably the same thing as this. I think it's Virginia Tech beat Virginia like 20 years in a row, something like that. What is this? Is it Iowa State, Iowa? I don't know. I think this is Iowa State, Iowa. If it is, I'm gonna go B tier. I mean, they always play pretty early in the year, so it's not like a Oklahoma State or Michigan State. But Utah BYU, this is definitely it's not quite Georgia Auburn tier or this tier, but it's a pretty big rivalry. Trust me. I mean, I'm not even from Utah, but I live here, and I hate BYU. I mean, I hate BYU for other reasons, but nothing makes me happier than watching BYU lose. So when we lost to BYU this year, it was really sad. But Florida, Georgia. I mean, this one's S tier. That's it. I've wanted to go to this game for the last few years, but it is so hard to get tickets to. And even if you can get tickets, they're just so expensive. Okay, Minnesota, Iowa. I didn't even know that was a rivalry. Florida State, Clemson. This is one that used to be better, but it's not really that much of a rivalry anymore. I don't even know what that is. I just see a Virginia Tech logo. I'm not even gonna include that. Texas, Texas A&M. This used to be pretty good, but they just don't ever play each other anymore. But they will with Texas going to the SEC, I hope. Okay, who's this? Memphis, SMU. This is actually a decent rivalry down there. I know that. And this game's usually pretty competitive, but I'd say it's probably about this tier. Iron Bowl. This is my favorite game every year to watch. Alabama, Auburn. Even if Alabama beats up on Auburn like they do sometimes, there's always those times like this year where Alabama just doesn't look good, and or they'll lose like they did a few like multiple times. Then you got the kick six, which I gotta say I don't like. I don't like. I'm not a big fan of either of those two teams, but I do like Alabama much more than Auburn. Which is not saying much. I can't stand Auburn, but yeah, it's like it feels weird with that game because I don't want Auburn to win because I don't like Auburn at all. But then at the same time, like it always helps Georgia for Auburn to win because then Georgia just gets to beat them in the SEC championship the next week. But hey, all right, Penn State Pitt. I had no idea that was a rivalry. Michigan Notre Dame. This is another one. It's not as big as it used to be. Same with Florida Tennessee. This game has been pretty good the last 2 years. It's still not like as big as it used to be, but this game, this past year, did not disappoint. So I'm gonna go seats here. All right. Okay. Ohio State, Michigan. This is another S tier. What is this? Oh, this is Clemson, South Carolina. Yeah. Literally, that game is just a blowout every year. I guess I'll put it up here, but I don't know. This Kansas State, Kansas. This is one that's just like nobody really cares about unless you live in Kansas. But I mean, at least I know that like these two teams don't like each other. Colorado, Colorado State. I know this is pretty big in Colorado, but that's about it. I'll put it in seats here. If it's like big in that area, I'll put it here. And this is sort of like dead rivalries, or it's just not competitive at all. This is like pretty good, really good rivalries, and then like the top tier ones. South Florida, Central Florida. This is another one that's just big in that area, but teams usually aren't that good. Egg Bowl. I do like this one. It's not quite S tier for me. It's not quite the best ones, but it is a pretty good. It's a pretty fun rivalry. This game, they always play each other, and then it's just for some reason they always put this game at the same time as the SEC primetime game. So I never end up watching it. I just end up watching usually Georgia or whoever the SEC primetime game is. So I just don't really care too much about it, but I know there's a lot of people that do. Texas, Oklahoma. This is another one of my favorite rivalries every year. There's something just about Big 12 rivalries where they just go out there and try to drop as many points on each other, and then at the same time, like the game finishes like 63 to 55, and it's like, oh, that was a fun game. It sucks that one of them had to lose, but I don't know. That's just kind of my that's the type of rivalry that I like with two teams I don't really care about. I mean, I don't like Oklahoma and I like Texas, but I just can't bring myself to cheer for Texas every year. Florida, Florida State. This is one. It's like I talked about this earlier. Like used to mean something, and now it's just like, man, it still means something to them, but the game is just not that fun anymore. Baylor TCU had its run for a few years, but it's kind of dead now. Okay, Harvard Yale. I guess I'm gonna put it here because I mean people there care about it, but nobody watches Ivy League football. Like I mean, I know I don't know anybody who does, and every little bit of Ivy League football that I have watched has just made me just want to watch a high school game instead. So I guess I know people there care about this game, but nobody watches it. Duke UNC, this is one that's a way bigger basketball rivalry than is football. Like nobody ever talks about this every year for football. LSU A&M, this one has got some good games. Like last year, that was a good game. The 72-74 game that I stayed up till midnight to watch. I'd say this one's gotta go B tier just because of how competitive it's been. Okay, the last one on here, not competitive one bit. I mean, no, I don't, I didn't ever watch. I guess I watched some of this game last year because I was on a flight back from New York, and I was watching this like when the Oklahoma State game was on commercials, and I was just hoping that game would get back from commercials the whole time. But this is my tier for rivalries. Obviously, it's different because of like who I cheer for and everything. But I'm pretty sure we can all agree that these are the top five rivalries in college football. But I don't know. Oh wait, no, Michigan Ohio State was on there. I don't know what I was thinking. All right, let's try and let's see what some other good ones.